Welcome back to the 5th episode of the Gym Leader Chat Lounge podcast, where we talk everything about the Gym Leader Challenge format of the Pokemon trading card game. My name is Benjamin Morse, and I am joined by my co-host, John Patterson. John, how you doing?
Not too bad, Ben. Not too bad. Another great week in Akron, Ohio, playing games of GLC.
That's right. What more could anybody want in life? And if you're listening to this, you're probably feeling the same way. But yeah, we've got quite a longer episode for you tonight. If we get to everything, we are gonna kick it off with our league recaps as usual from the Full Grip Games Gym Leader Challenge League night this past Thursday. We're gonna go over some pretty cool community decks that were featured both on stream, on Tricky Gym, and just from what we saw. That I feel like a lot of you guys will enjoy seeing. And then we're going to go into dark as a type. Last week we kind of covered colorless as a type right now in the meta. Tonight we're going to dive into the dark type by popular demand. And then if we have time, we're going to round it out with the no bans GLC tournament that John and I have both played round 1 in so far. So a lot is on the table for tonight if we get to it. Just and then pour one out for Tony as well, because Tony's not here again.
He will be well one of these days, and we'll be happy to have him back. But now resting up, and he's telling us next week things are looking good, so we'll see.
We'll see. I'm starting to doubt it. Maybe once a month he'll hop on from now on. We'll see. That's he's batting 2 for 5 right now. Not a great look, Tony. Not a great look. I haven't seen him, so who knows if he's actually sick. There's no proof yet. We just have to trust his word. But yeah, anyways, another great week, as John said, in the Gym Leader Challenge universe. And without further ado, since we do have a longer one, why don't we just jump right into it? Starting with the Full Grip top 8 from this past week.
Yes. Top 8 this week. We've got a couple waters, a couple psychics, fighting, a dark, a dragon, and a fire. So we got some types in there that don't see too often. Our local players kind of taking the challenge, and as we said, this set that we just released is a bit smaller, less impactful set, but definitely cooking with some of those newer cards in there. Yeah, our top 4 there being rounded out. Thad in 4th place there on the Monkey Dory Giratina deck. Then we've got Jack Martin being our first player this season to make it in the top 4 with the Dark Archetype, playing a Tyranitar Grimsley Turbo Dark deck. Very interesting spice there. We'll be going over that here a little bit later. Then we got Hunter on RDT, and then Chace taking it down on the Psychic Garbo box deck. Sadly enough, you'll notice down there at the bottom that we have both of your hosts not notably missing from the top 8 this week. Ben with an equal record as a top 4 player, whiffing top 8 at that 3-2 on grass, and myself trying the colorless again. It says 3-2, but I was 2-3 this week. So
dang it. That's my second mistake.
That's all right. We'll let that one slide.
I had such high hopes for you.
Yeah, you thought I was doing better than I truly was. I appreciate the vote of confidence there, Ben.
Yeah, I'm boosting the pod's numbers.
Heck yeah. So, yeah, so some cool types. I'd love to see fire in a top 8. Just going at a positive record. That's a big win for fire there. Alex Carpenter playing the Pig Pony Slug, one of the better names to come out of the TBZ fun deck naming system there. Definitely a W with that one. I don't always approve of the names of the deck choices there, but this one you guys knocked it out of the park. Congratulations. It makes me want to sing the song, but I won't burden any of you with that here. So yeah, very cool decks in top 8. Like Ben said, we have some of these community decks here. We'll go ahead and talk about them here a little bit later. But to start things off, we'll go ahead and just kind of head into our runs here. And Ben, how did grass go this week?
Yeah, so I played grass, obviously getting the 3-2 finish. Hate to see it. Ninth place. Started 0-2, so not not my favorite night. But I ended up playing. We're going back to play the Egg Mill Control grass deck. I played that for a couple weeks before the podcast started, and then swapped off for a couple weeks in like the last month, and now I got tired of fighting and just wanted to hop back on the grass train a little bit and get some more games in. And of course, my round one match was probably the worst match I've ever played with this deck. Very unfortunate. But yeah, if you don't know, the Egg Mill relies on the uh, controlling strategies of the Executor with the blockade attack and the Vileplume with the irritating pollen ability. That Vileplume ability makes it so neither player can play any items during anyone's turn, so shuts off yourself, but also your opponent. And then the Executor has the blockade attack, which for one colorless attack cost and 10 damage says your opponent can't play any supporters during their turn. If you have Vileplume up and you're using blockade, they cannot play items or supporters, and you're gonna just the strategy is to use that to your advantage to lock them out of the game as much as possible. And then just for good measure, you have one of the highest HP attackers, strongest attackers in the game in Torterra to just sweep your opponent's, at the most opportune time. You can get rid of their energies with Team Flare Grunt or Plumeria. You can, boss and lock something up that, they don't want to have in the active and lock them with the blockade attack and tool jammer. There's just a lot of different routes the deck can take to win. And often, you'll go in with a Torterra, Lux Cape, Iono 2 on your opponent and make a reverse sweep because they can't play any items in their hand to 2, and you've discarded so many of their resources. So when it works, it's really fun, frustrating for your opponent. It's a very strong deck, but yeah, going back to how the night actually went, like I said, my round one was probably the worst match I've ever played with the deck. I had just tons of Pokemon in my hand, and I was playing against Dragon, and I had set it up to just on my second. I got a decent start with Roselia, Turtwig, and Venonat on the bench, and I had Roserade in hand to just find lilies to start moving. And my opponent went Hex Maniac, Raging Bolt Snipe, KO, and I had to like pass for a turn because I had to hold the Roselia because I couldn't play it yet. And then he went Versus Seeker, Hex Maniac, Snipe again, and I'm like, well, now I have to wait another turn. And he just like kept doing that. And then when I finally was able
Holy
to use my
cow.
abilities, yeah, it was rough. When I finally was able to use my abilities, he had taken 3 prizes already, so I chose Iono, and my hand wasn't good, but I Iono'd into like the 6 worst cards somehow. I was like, oh my gosh. So it was just like complete Brickfest, and Raging Bolt just
Ben,
kind
you
of
realize you're supposed to be the one disrupting in this matchup, right?
I was trying to, but what's funny is that Chris's setup with Dragon like wasn't great. Like he was playing Hex because he had like nothing else to do. Like he didn't have any backup attackers really set up. It was literally like Raging Bolt, Hex, like hope that I couldn't respond, because if I had, I probably would have run away with it. And Raging Bolt ended up taking like 4 or 5 prizes. And then when I finally responded with like a Lux Cape Torterra hand disrupt, he had no energy in play on his bench still. But I had to use reversal energy on Torterra, and he had Fracture on the bench. And in his like 2 or 3 card hand, he had Raihan attached to the Fracture to search for the Haxorus. And if you don't know, the Haxorus has a 1 energy attack that says knock out your opponent's Pokemon if they have a special energy attached. And so that's how so
Oh
when
my
I finally
gosh.
was like, I could come back here, he had the perfect combo to knock out my 290 HP Torterra in a single energy. So yeah, nothing I could have done there, unfortunately. But that was a frustrating start. Round 2 was kind of funny because I got the blockade Executor Vileplume lock up on Fran with her Excalibur active and had discarded a bunch of energy from play. So she couldn't support her, couldn't play items, had used her Float Stone and Scoop Up Net, so she couldn't switch it, couldn't attack. I had the perfect lockup, and then I decked myself out because I misplayed my Team Yell's Cheer. And she had 2 cards left in deck, and I was like, well, you win.
Those loops at the end are tricky. My brain doesn't work that way, and so I think it's impressive just that people that can do that over and over and over again. So I don't blame anyone ever for slipping that up at some point. Like it's tough to do.
Yep, and honestly, that was the first time I had really gotten to that point in paper with this deck. And one of the reasons I wanted to play this deck again was because it does take the practice, and just one simple mistake like that. My mistake was I had shuffled Lusamine back into the deck. So in my mind, I didn't need to play like Team Yell's Cheer or something, until I Lusamine for it again. But Lusamine ended up being the bottom card of my deck. So by the time I had played all my other recovery supporters, like I had played Team Yell's Cheer and Cynthia and Caitlyn already, the Lusamine was my last one. And I was like, I'm fine because Lusamine's back in deck. But then when I actually was like, oh shoot, I'm about to draw Lusamine as my final card. I'll have to play it this turn, but my deck will be empty, so I lose.
Right.
So that was just like one slip up there where I just like miscalculated. I was doing the loop, but I was like, I didn't factor in that I couldn't play Lusamine and put cards back in my deck. So
right.
Fran took the win on that one, even though she had only taken 1 prize that game too. Like I was like in control the whole game, and I was like, you win. So that was funny. Those are my 2 losses. The next 3 games, the only game really that was that interesting was against Peter, a dark deck, and we went down to 1-1 prizes, and he ended up unfortunately whiffing an energy off of a Cynthia to 6 to win the game. So I ended up winning that game because he had 1 energy in deck and maybe like 20 cards in deck. So off the Cynthia in 6, he just missed that. But yeah, I won out after those first 2 rounds and kind of redeemed myself a little bit. But yeah, super strong deck. Enjoyed playing it and looking forward to trying it again next time. But yeah,
Very sick.
That was me, John. Hopping over to you, back on colorless.
Yep, ran it back with the colorless again. Just I like the deck. Like I mentioned last week, I thought about Alex even offered when I got there. He's like, "Hey, did you want to try the Harambe colorless list I just won with?" And I was like, "Nah, I got hope for this. I want to give it one more try." So I made a couple changes to it. I really we talked about colorless a good bit last week, but I wanted to the tech that I liked that I wanted to try to get in there. I wanted to add one more thing was the E Hammer. Just felt like it definitely would help with the fighting matchup, but I actually didn't play fighting this week and got to use the E Hammer twice to decent effect. Like a lot of decks just play at least one special energy, so just being able to have an automatic energy removal can really swing your um, the course of the game and your prize trade there. So it felt like that was a good inclusion. In order to make that happen, I went ahead and removed the level ball. Um, to make space for it. And because the level ball was gone, I still wanted just as many outs to Fan Rotom turn 1 as before. So I shifted the energy around a little bit, cut a fairy to add in the capture energy. So keeping the same amount of outs to a basic Pokemon to get that Fan Rotom in the deck. And then after removing the 1 fairy energy, going down to 3 fairy energy, or if you're playing like a mellow build, just like 3 fire energy. It's a little scary because you want it in the discard pile or in your deck, respectively, wherever. So with this deck being wanting them in my deck, I decided to add the swap the Night Stretcher out for the Rod so that I could put them back into the deck to make sure I make Mina more of a live card throughout the game. So just a few things moving around to get that E Hammer in there. All right, the round 1, I went ahead and played against Chace on that Garb list that he won with, and my play in general was pretty sloppy tonight or on Thursday. I didn't really I didn't make the best plays overall. It's kind of started round one, so I got to go second and had the Goose Hollow turn one, and Chase had a Zacian active with a Horror Energy attached to it, and I probably did like the worst play I could have done. I had the Goose Hollow and Turbo Energize was in the deck. I could have done that. And I just kind of forgot that that was a play and that was a thing that I could do. So I decided to punch into the Zacian doing 70 damage, so maybe being able to knock it out the next turn, and not even realizing and paying attention that the horror energy was the energy attached to it. So it would put 20 damage on me, bringing me down to 50 HP. And Zacian's attack does 50 damage um, before it's powered up after the 3 prizes. So I really just set myself up to possibly be knocked out that next turn, doing a rather not relevant amount of damage. And fortunately for me, I guess, that wasn't the play. I don't know even know if Chase had the energy to do that, but decided to Cleffa and set up the board a little bit better. But um, I, like I said, I had the Goose Hollow. So the thing I think this deck struggles with, especially into a Garb Psychic list specifically, is you Goose Hollow turn one for your Artisan, use it to get your Pokemon out, and then as soon as you get paralleled, you're like, crap. This list that I'm playing only has the 2 stadiums, and one of them is a parallel, so I can't bump the parallel with that. And then I need to be very careful when to use my Field Blower because I need to use it on a turn that I need my abilities back, so I can't just like Field Blower that away. So like, something that like really limits this deck, and as soon as that happened, I was like, I think this deck needs another stadium in it. So maybe changing one of those flex spots to a stadium of some kind. Probably going to be something I try to do in the future with it. So lost that game. Played JD round two. Just a really close game in a dragon. It was just a classic. Just like I got the first attack off and then or the first knockout, and then just back and forth. Only notable thing here was a turn where I was not able to get an attack off, and I let a Snorlax with a I think it was the Fighting Fury belt, take a hit in the active from the Garchomp. So it did 160 damage, which is 10 more than, Snorlax HP usually has, with the Fighting Fury belt. And I was very scared because JD had Field Blower still active. So I knew he could just like pick up this knockout later. But the following turn, I made it a priority to try and find that picnic basket to heal that damage. So like Field Blower just didn't automatically take a knockout. So I was able to keep the prize trade even there, even though I left a turn where, Field Blower could have happened and I could have been vulnerable to that. So ended up winning that one. Again, it was just a really close dragon game. Round three, I played against Tyler. He was playing what he described as playing standard in the GLC format. He set out to build a deck where he played Dragapult Dusknoir, the standard deck, but in GLC. So he had, obviously, Dusknoir is a psychic Pokemon. He played the Dragapult that, it has that coin flip immunity to being knocked out if it's dealt damage, and then it has a similar attack to the Dragapult EX in standard where it does 130 to the active and spreads 3 damage counters. Um, and unfortunately for him, the rare candy and the Dragapult was prized this game. Um, but
Dang.
it's cool because like he set up to like 1-for-1 recreate it as best he can. The deck plays Monkey Dory, so he had Monkey Dory in there. He found a replacement because the standard deck plays Halucha and went ahead and put the Giratina in there. So Giratina does a similar thing from the discard pile that Halucha does. It was like all the pieces were there. It's just a really cool kind of challenge to build a standard deck in GLC.
Hmm.
He had some cool plays where he popped the Dusclops and then took a knockout with Wob on one of my guys, which just kind of slowed me down from being able to take the game, but just ran away with it eventually. So round four was against Jack on stream. I had to go first, whiffed Fan Rotom, did not have a viable supporter in hand for the next turn. Um, and Jack turbo energized to his Guzzlord turn one, and then turn two was like swinging with it and just went up 4 prizes. And the game was just an absolute disaster. So, really the power of Dark and Guzzlord there, we'll talk a little bit more about later. But and then round five, played Fran. Um, had a good back and forth prize trade. Again, it was kind of shaping up to be similar to the game I had with JD, where it was just back and forth taking prizes. And then Fran had a really good play where she played Hex on a turn that I needed to respond to a Wishy-Washy in the active with the Hop Snorlax. But because Hex was in play, the uh, the hops tool plus the double turbo energy with with the Snorlax's ability, it does exactly 180 damage. But with Hex in play, it was the Snorlax's ability wasn't applying, so it didn't do enough damage to take out the Wishy-Washy. So Fran was able to go up in the prize trade and take it from there. So ended the night with a record of 2-3. Again, there's definitely, I didn't mention a whole lot, but like there was definitely some places I could have cleaned up my play, and there was at least one game that was my fault entirely, and I could play better next time. So a little
Yep.
disappointed with my performance, but we'll try it again next week.
Try it again. Yep. But yeah, nice run. Sorry that I put you as 3-2. But yeah, not
You
the
had
best
more hope
night
than I
here.
did.
Yeah, I had a lot of hope. I had said on a previous podcast that if ever all the hosts were outside of the top 8, the podcast would be canceled. Um, However, Tony's not here, so it wasn't all the hosts. Oh man,
It's true. All three of us need to be in attendance for that
that's
clause.
right. Right. So the podcast is still on, guys. It's not going anywhere. But yeah, so that was the two of us. But yeah, we did want to highlight. Well, next we'll talk about Chace. Um, Chace getting his second badge of the season, which he just won his first, I think, like 2 weeks ago with Milo Pump. So pretty hot streak for Chace. I think this was only his second week after Milo Pump playing Psychic, and he already got the badge there. I think I was talking to him, and he over the last 3 weeks with his 2 badges, he has a record of like 11-2. So Chace probably our highest performing player of the last 3 weeks. So congrats to Chace, well done, bro. Locked in and got those badges quickly, tying me and Tony. You know, later in the season. So yeah, like we said before, anyone can pop off in the second half of a season and give Alex a run for his money, and still looking to see if anyone can do that. Hopefully catch up to Alex, but Chace went 5-0 with the Garbodor deck. And here is what we have here. It's got the Cleffa in there, which John mentioned. Other noticeable things to call out here, John. Pretty straightforward Garb deck
Yeah,
that we've seen.
it's pretty straightforward. He mentioned, so like you said, he played this 2 weeks. Mentioned to us that one of the changes he made between the weeks was he said he wanted to either get Town Map or the Gladian in there. He said with this deck in particular, it's really annoying to prize things, and in particular like the Garbodor if you don't have access to the Garbodor. So just wanted to, I don't know what he cut for it. I can't remember what he said, but wanted to make sure that he had access to get those cards when he needed them. So and out for him for sure. A couple things about his run. I think it was a really interesting statistic. He said he loved putting the U-turn board specifically as a tool on the Garbodor. Um, because he said he made this play 4 out of his 5 games where he had the field blower on the Garbodor, or had the U-turn board on the Garbodor, then field blowered it, and then immediately had the tool to attach again to like lock the abilities again. So he said he really liked the shopping center in the list, but Tropical Beach is just like a better setup card. So the field blower U-turn board combo, sort of doing a similar thing to what the shopping center can do, giving him a turn of abilities to be able to do that.
Right, right. Whoops. Yeah. So really cool play from Chace there to be doing that, and for it to happen so many times. Like you said, 4 games doing that, discarding your own tool from Garbodor. Yeah, for any listeners who don't know what Garbodor does, it has an ability that says if it has a tool attached to it, all abilities for both players are shut off. So it's a way to kind of slow down your opponent. You build your own board up before locking yourself, or do what Chace did, reactivate your abilities on your turn only. Pick up that U-turn board, then use your abilities from Xatu Malamar, and then drop the U-turn board right back down to lock your opponent. Yeah, pretty strong deck into a lot of types that are ability reliant. And Chace, yeah, piloting it to a great 5-0 finish. So congrats to Chace once again. I'm excited to see what the next deck you pick up is, and if you will hopefully keep that hot streak alive. I'd love to see it.
Speaking of hot streaks here, we got sorry, it was a
Nice
perfect segue
transition.
with no fire deck. I,
Perfect,
I
perfect.
couldn't resist. So yeah, Alex Carpenter on the pink pony slug. I'm sorry, I can't just say that. You can't say that without singing the song. It's too fun.
That's right.
We love fun in GLC, fun and whimsy. That's what the format's about.
Yes, sir.
So really cool fire list here. Originally, archetype kind of created by the Turbo Blaze guys, and then I'm sure Alex, as per usual, made some changes to it. But yeah, you've got the first thing I notice here is in a GLC deck having three TMs, which is a lot. And the reason you have those three TMs is you've got the Torchic there that has the ability to attack twice. So another guy like we've discussed in weeks past, like in the Psychic's got the Zatu. We've got that Swellow that won the colorless badge, and then we talked last week of the cards coming out that there's also that Dustox that does that. So instead of taking an extra prize, the Torchic being able to attack twice, doing a similar thing there. So not only attacking twice to take knockouts towards the end of the game, but the setup here, two of these TMs dedicated to evolving possibly twice, going straight up into that Emboar. Can't evolve straight up into itself, unfortunately. That's the only other stage too. But you could evolve, multiple guys on the bench if you wanted to. And then the Turbo Energize turns into, instead of accelerating 2 energy to your bench Pokemon, you're accelerating 4 energy to your bench Pokemon. So versatile Pokemon there in the Torchic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, what are any other things you notice about this list that's
Yeah.
kind of stick out to you?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight for, people who are on audio listeners exactly what is going on here in the first place. And Pig Pony Slug, we got the Pig, which is Emboar, which has the Inferno Fandango ability, which is basically an infinite rain dance, attach energy from hand, fire type ability guy, 180 HP, really big, uh, just a big guy. Yeah, gets all your energy in play. The Pony is the Rapidash, which has the Hurried Gate ability to draw a single card. And usually the card you're going to be drawing into is from the Slug, the Meg Cargo, which can stack your deck once per turn with any card from your deck. So that's the Pig Pony Slug support combo. And from there, you're powering up guys like Entei and Heatmore, Chi-Yu, and hopefully you can get into that Blaziken as well. Blaziken has the an attack for 3 energy, which is the amazing Raikou attack, basically, except you're going to discard those energy, do 120 to the active and 120 to a bench. And Heatmore making a comeback. Haven't seen Heatmore in a couple of years, actually. Has a similar attack, which for 3 energy does 90 damage. But if you can get 3 more on it, 6 energy total, it's doing 90 to the active and 180 damage snipe. Normally, in the past, I've seen Heatmore only played with the Charizard that doubles energy. There's no Charizard in this list, so if you want to use Heatmore, you have to get 6 energy onto him. And Alex actually said Heatmore was popping off a lot more than he expected. And I think just once you get the Emboar up, you have a lot of ways to search out energy, get it back from the discard with superior energy retrieval and Fire Crystal. You got the Giant Hearth to get it out of the deck. So you have plenty of ways to get fire energy into hand and into play. But you're very reliant on actually setting up the Emboar is the only thing. So your opponent can take advantage of that fact. You might be in a bit of a pickle.
Yeah, that's the sort of big glaring weakness I'm kind of noticing as I'm looking at the supporter lineup here. It is Emboar or nothing for energy acceleration. As I mentioned, you have the Torchic as well too for that early game setup if you're turbo energizing. But no Welder, no Blacksmith, no Mela, no Raihan. There's no other forms of energy acceleration. So, but I mean the Emboar, hopefully powerful enough to carry you through as your only form of energy acceleration in this list.
Yeah, and all you need is like the one turn usually. Now, if you can get Emboar up and a big attacker going, that's always the question in GLC is like, okay, make your opponent have to choose between targeting your one support guy that's like really important, or you're like already powered up super strong attacker that they're facing down. And usually they have to deal with the attacker to like stabilize their own board. They don't really have a chance to, because like if you gust up the Emboar and knock it out when Heatmore is already swinging with 6 energy on it, you're cooked, you know. So like once Emboar's up and you can get a meaningful attack off, the Emboar's probably going to stay up, which is the benefit there. But yeah, like you said, the 3 TMs, you know, Crisis Punch at the end of the game, you know, it's just another. There's multiple ways I see in this deck to take multiple prizes, which you know is always a good thing for maybe a lower tier type to have to keep up with the fast pace of these other decks. Um, so even if you struggle on Fire's setup, maybe if you can get like a Heatmore playoff, a Blaziken playoff, and a Crisis Punch playoff, that's only 3 attacks you need to take 6 prizes potentially. So the upper power limit is there. It's a very cool deck, brand new from the Turbo Blaze guys. Alex played it to a 3-2 finish. I know Jack beat him with his dark deck. And did you say that Chace beat Alex too, or maybe not?
I don't know if they played or not. I don't think they did.
Okay, I'm not sure who the other Alex's other loss was, but I should mention that today, Saturday, when we're recording this, Alex also won a webcam tournament with this list.
Bro, there's no way.
Okay, but listen, John, there's more. There's details that should not be
Okay,
left
give me the
out.
lore.
It was the Saturday webcam tournament, 3 rounds. Okay, so he went 3-0. 2 of those matches were against grass.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
Like a match to an open field.
yeah, literally take that as you may. Obviously, the deck has high power, but when you're given grass as 2 of your matchups in a 3-round tournament, that's a great day. So congrats to Alex for taking advantage of that.
There he goes again.
But yeah, anyways, let's hop into our next community deck from Full Group Games. Another hot new build. John, what do we got?
So we got from Dweese, we have Dwagons, continuing the Dwa theme from the Dwixty onto the other decks. Love to see. Again, we said the format's about fun and whimsy. Very cool
I was
naming thing there. So
arguing. I was arguing with Peacock and because Peacock played this list with Dylan and Peacock's the one that ended up getting top 8. And during the league night, they were arguing about what they should call it, and Dylan wants to call it Jet Blaze because it's got the JetCruise Dragonite and the Turbo Blaze Reshiram, so kind of a cool naming there. And Peacock was like, "But I want to call it Dwagons."
I mean, the seriousness and the cool factor of Jet Blaze combined with just like Jet Blaze Dwagons is, I think, just throw them both in there. That's fine.
Yeah, let the community
But
decide.
right. So got 2 new cards in this list from the Ascended Hero set that was just released that we talked about last week. One in that Rayquaza that we said is probably going to be a more widely played card, being able to switch into the active from the bench and for a lightning and a colorless hit for 110 damage. But it's also got the Dragonair in there with the ability, if it's got an energy attached, it's able to search out evolution Pokemon. I will, take the L here and say I don't think I mentioned on the podcast last week that I don't think there are a lot of Dragonites worth playing, and then here they show up with this this list and this Dragonite that I what's the attack? It's Jet what?
JetCruise, and it gives everybody free retreat.
Yeah, JetCruise gives everyone free retreat, which is really good, especially when you're playing this the Turbo Blaze, the Reshiram there. Just getting it in and out of the active, a really strong ability there. But the other cool thing is like this guy is just statted out. He's got 180 HP. There's a lot of decks that just struggle to get over that like 160 mark. Dragons being one of them, just like having guys that like can't really get over 160. So someone that can take a hit and then also deal damage. It's got for its attack, it's got Garchomp's attack, but just a
Yeah,
little
but
bit better. It does discard the top 2 cards of the deck for a lightning and a water, but it is 180 damage. So really relevant number there. I mentioned that I struggled to get over a wishy-washy or this week. You know, that's knocking out wishy-washies. Just yeah, a lot of different things. Good stats on that guy there. So good utility and good stats on that evolution Pokemon. Definitely worth getting into play. You see a lot of it's kind of a smushed together version of like those really fast dragon lists that we've seen and like the slower evolution list. So kind of got a little bit of all those guys in there, and uh, really cool to see. Yeah.
yeah, it's got the Gabite as well with the Garchomp, and then it's got the Dracloak that has the Recon Directive ability, which allows you to look at the top 2, take one, put one on the bottom. So yeah, those evolution lines paired with the more standard, just like Dragoback style basic guys with Raging Bolt, Dredigan, Drampa. Yeah, so Dwixty, not Dwixty, Dweesh, Dylan in the Jet Blaze deck, kind of going for this new type of build with that Dragonair and that Dragonite. I think a lot of you probably saw it on stream on Tricky Gym where Dylan and JD faced up, and Dylan ended up taking it home. The Dragonite did put in work there, getting good use of both the Dragonair and the Dragonite. So yeah, pretty cool deck if you're wanting to try out dragons without maybe the turbo basic build that's been standard for a long time. Give this a shot. I know Dylan is a brand new build. Dylan's still refining it. One cut here is probably that he talked about is cutting Hilda for Chorus Tenacity instead. Just having the ability to search out Stormy Mountains in a basic Pokemon rather than an evolution Pokemon in Hilda, might help the deck a little bit, but both searching out that double dragon energy, of course. But yeah, pretty cool new dragon deck for you guys that I wanted to highlight. And then from there, we can get into talking about the dark decks and just where we feel dark is in the current meta, all the different ways to play it, and just how we feel about it. There's a lot of different ways to play dark. I brought in a lot of lists to highlight for you guys, and we're gonna jump right into them. And we're gonna start with the top 4 finishing list from Full Grip this past week, which was from Jack Martin. Went 4-1, only lost to. Do you remember?
He
Oh, he bricked on
lost. Oh, I
stream.
don't
He
remember
bricked
what
on
his
stream
loss
against
was.
Vincent.
Yes, to
Vincent
the
Lewis.
it was that screenshot you showed me. It was a brick. Both of them bricked on stream, but it was a Kyogre on the water side of thing. Vincent that was just able to power up a Kyogre to knock out the Guzzlord. So yeah, that was his only loss. Was
Yeah.
both bricking and his opponent bricking a little less than he did.
Yeah, pretty uneventful game there in round 2. If you saw it on stream, where the Kyogre just manually powered up until it knocked out Guzzlord. But yeah, Jack's deck really cool 4-1 finish, and like John mentioned earlier, this is the very first top 4 finish from a dark deck in Full Grip's 3rd season of GLC, which is kind of crazy. Even Fire got a top 4 finish before Dark, and Dark is played way more often than Fire is. So congrats to Jack for finally getting up there. And he did it with this build of King Gambit and Tyranitar with Grimsley's Move. Grimsley's Move is a new supporter card from the previous set, which says look at the top 7 cards of your deck and put any dark Pokemon you find there onto your bench. You can shuffle the other
One
cards.
of any. Choose one of them.
Yeah. Put one of the dark Pokemon you find
Very
there onto
very
your bench.
important to note.
Yes. Not all of them. One of them. But the King Gambit and Tyranitar do not use, so you don't play any of their basics or stage ones. You only play the stage twos, and you're only getting them into play with Grimsley's move. Tyranitar in particular doesn't even have any dark type pre-evolutions. They're only fighting type. But this Tyranitar is a beast. It has the Daunting Gaze ability, which says as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand. And for only 2 energy, it does 150 damage and discards the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. On paper, it has also has 190 HP. So like on paper, this is one of the
Wild.
strongest stage 2 Pokemon that exists in GLC, and it's almost I'm almost grateful that you cannot get it into play outside of Grimsley's move, because if you get like a turn, if you like go first and attach to Larvitar, imagine a world where you go first, attach to Larvitar, and then on your second turn you rare candy and Tyranitar and attach another energy, and you're swinging for 150 and item locking with a 190 HP guy. Like that's crazy. Like the stats on Tyranitar are crazy. And Jack actually told me that in his round 1 match, that's almost exactly what happened. On his first turn, he used Mallow to stack his deck with Grimsley's move and Tyranitar. And then on his second turn, you can play the Grimsley's move, put the Tyranitar down, and start sweeping. Yeah. He also said that he actually never got the King Gambit up into play. If he did, it says King Gambit has the ability that all your basic Pokemon do 30 more damage, so it's just a little damage buff. If you're not getting the Tyranitar, maybe you'll hit the power buff of King Gambit. But yeah, John, what else we see in here?
Yeah, he mentioned wanting he told me I lost to him, and then we were talking about the deck afterwards, and he told me he's like, yeah, I like the King Gambit because if I can get it off, there's a chance that I can go from nothing on board to being able to one shot a Wailord. And I was like, hold on, walk me through that. What did you just say? And he said, if you can get the King Gambit into play, you're doing that 30 more damage. The Gape Jaw can put 2 damage counters on the Spiritomb. The ability can put another damage counter on the Spiritomb, and then the Toxtricity that we're seeing in a lot of these dark decks power them up can attach the energy to it, which adds another 2 damage counters. So it's got 5 damage counters on it now. You've got the Hustle Pelt adding 60 damage. You've got the King Gambit adding 30. I can't do all that math right now. I don't really want to, but you're getting to that 240. And I was like, wow, that's wild. I didn't think that could ever be possible. So whether you can pull it off all in one turn, that's left to be seen. But just something really cool that I was like, dang, that's the most impressive thing to me is like when things can get to the Wailord numbers and when they can do it that fast. That's just really cool. Yeah, and then you pulled up those cards there on screen, the kind of the standout ones there, and the Toxtricity, and then it's the Petulant there. We talked about this Petulant a little bit last week. Just a really good guy. He's the perfect turbo energized guy. You want to turbo energize with him, and then hope your opponent has to go through it and knock it out. To maybe get the card you need to finish setting up your Guzzlord to start sweeping there in that turn. Jack mentioned it. I think in at least 2 of his games was. I know it was in mine specifically. I played against him on stream, and then at least one other he mentioned it was just turbo energized to Guzzlord, and that took him at least 2 prizes to start the game, and then Spiritomb really closes it out there. So really, really, for the most part, it's kind of got 2 components. It's a low to the ground, easy to use, turbo energize. Spiritomb only costs 1 energy. You've got the Toxtricity to add energy. To attack with your basic guys, and then you've kind of got this side quest of, okay, can I get the Tyranitar in play, can I get the King Gambit in play to do that? So it's like I love to see that in decks where it's like it's not so reliant on those and all really hard to get into play stage 2s, but they do definitely supplement the deck and make it run more smoothly if you can get them into play. So like it works on its own from turn 1, but definitely some things that you can use in later turns there. So yeah.
Yeah, really cool stuff from Jack. Curious to see if he continues playing it and hopefully gets the first dark badge of the season. Yeah, maybe I wonder if he's gonna also swap out that King Gambit. If it didn't do anything, maybe it could be a different piece at this point. But Yeah, cool. From Jack there. Another dark deck I wanted to highlight is from a couple weeks ago at Full Grip. JD. I know he had help with from Peter, another local. With they were working on this Hydreigon dark deck, and if you don't know, Hydreigon has the Dark Squall ability, which says it's basically Rain Dance as often as you like during your turn. You may attach a dark energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So same as Baxcalibur, same as the Emboar we were talking about, just for dark guys, getting that Rain Dance in play. It's a lot less played than types like Water, which get the Baxcalibur, because your consistency pieces to get it into play are a little lacking. You don't have the Inteleon, of course, to find an Irida, to find the Baxcalibur and Rare Candy. You just got the trade of Liepard to hopefully get into the Hydreigon. But once you do, that can be really strong. You can find a Guzzlord out of nowhere. If you're looking for a different way to play Dark, and you like Hydreigon, you could try this one out. There was one game I saw JD was playing. It wasn't during an actual round. It was like a warm-up game, but his Guzzlord had gotten knocked out. And he went teammates for superior energy retrieval and rescue stretcher, and put the Guzzlord back down, superiored for 4 basic dark energies, and swung with Guzzlord right away again for the 2 prizes and the win. So that was really cool to see. You can pull off cool combos like that with the Hydreigon. But yeah, what other Pokemon do we have rounding out his deck here, John? There's one sneaking back there that
Yeah,
I see
so
that.
so some efficient guys. You've got the Spiritomb in there. So the Spiritomb Toxtricity combo is just like a really strong, low energy one. It's also got the Weavile in there, and then tucked in there behind the Toxel and Toxtricity, you've got the Marnie's Morpeko, which I believe, I can't see it there, but I think it's a 40 times multiplier Hydro Pump style
Yes.
attack. So
Yep.
you've got these. Again, it's like you've got. I love to see this where it's like, okay, kind of it's a stage two. The it's not like Water where it's got options of you've got the Frostmoth and you've got the stage 2 Hydro Pumper, and so like you've got a couple things you can get into play. It's just got the one, so it's got a combination of just like low energy cost guys and then guys that can be used with those Hydro Pumps. So it's like it's not the end of the world if you don't get the Hydreigon set up. You've got other options in this deck that you can use in the Weavile and the Spiritomb there, and the Toxtricity to accelerate energy as well. So um, yeah, really cool list. They've been cooking up for a little while here. Good to see it. You know, see it at
Yep.
locals
Dark.
and see it kind of change and take shape over the weeks because it's not a perfect list, but they've been cooking it for a while and it's cool to see for sure.
Yeah. Before we move on to some other lists, maybe we should briefly talk about how we feel about Dark as a type in general right now, because like we've said, it being this past week being the first time it even got a top 4 at Full Grip in since July, is kind of nuts. I think it's been played over 60 times total, which, I mean, in comparison, like Psychic decks have been played, 150 times plus, 200 times plus. So, relatively small still, but not nothing. And so Dark has definitely been underperforming this year compared to past years. And I think a big part of that has to do with just the pace of every other deck picking up a little bit, including Psychic, which is kind of like the matchup you would rely on hopefully having some advantage over before with the weakness. Um, but I think once Psychic decks started running like Iron Boulder and things like that, and now having access to the Wondrous patch and things like that, it's just like it's even harder to beat Psychic now than ever before, because like even if you would ability locked with Wheezing, like it's not hard to power up an Iron Boulder, and uh, Iron Boulder also hits perfect math on the Guzzlord, which has a psychic resistance of 20 damage. So that 170 damage is perfect. Iron Boulder just is the perfect response into the dark decks, and like we've mentioned in these first 2 dark decks, Guzzlord is kind of like the key piece you want to even be winning games in the first place. So when Psychic is as popular it is, and your matchup into Psychic with weakness is slowly getting worse, it's not ideal. But like, have you played many dark decks recently, or what is your feelings on this?
No, Dark's one I like to think on a lot, but I never end up getting it put into paper or even like typing out a list on Limitless or Cardboard Warriors. The kind of ditto what you said with the state of where Dark is and in respect to the other decks in the format, but also if you it's missing two really important things that other decks have been getting recently, and um, an additional draw or search or support Pokemon other than that Liepard. A lot of your games really feel like they hinge on either Liepard or Bust. If you're not able to get that into play, and then the other thing is, it's been a while since we've got good dark basic attackers. The Guzzlord is fantastic, being able to take those two prizes. But you look at your attackers here: the Moltres, the Spiritomb, the Guzzlord, yellow borders. We're playing the only silver border basic attacker in this list is Marnie's Morpeko, which is a strong Hydro Pump style pack, but it's got like what 70 or 80 HP. It's not a Wailord that's able to like take hits. Like, what are we doing? It's like where you really feel like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to get like good attackers. Again, you look at this list, it's like the same thing, the same like yellow border basic attackers there. So it's like cool. Psychic got the Iron Boulder, which is a really efficient, doesn't need your other stuff set up to like you can power up the attack easily. But Dark just like hasn't been getting those guys that can do that. And so like I think that's in a way it kind of stinks because you're like, oh, it's just not on par with these decks. But it's where I think we're seeing the diversity in the dark lists is that people like, okay, we don't have these things that other decks easily have access to. So people are like, okay, how can we kind of make this work otherwise? Are we putting Hydreigon on the list to accelerate out of their energies? Are we trying to do Grimsley stuff to cheese out those really strong stage 2 Pokemon? Are we going to look at we're going to look at control stuff here a little bit later and see like, does the control card pool in Dark be able to do that? So it's like, it stinks because it's making it so Dark's not as on par as these other decks are, but I think it promotes like deck diversity and some creative deck building in the type.
Yeah, and I think we're finally seeing a resurgence in Dark right now because of this toxicity. In all the lists we're going to share outside of the control one, I think toxicity is present. So being a stage one that can accelerate in energy as well as enhancing the ability of one of your only good basic attackers in Spiritomb by putting extra damage counters on it. It's like just barely enough of a buff to Dark to like make it kind of relevant again right now. Um, but it's still, there's still a lot of room to play, as you'll see in how you build the list. I think people are like, we're seeing all these creative builds because no one's found the perfect Dark 60, I believe. We're still in kind of like an experimenting phase, and hopefully we'll get some new basic attackers soon. And we didn't even mention fighting at all, although it was like kind of implied in the basic attackers. But fighting being as popular and good as it is also terrible for the dark deck because your best attacker Guzzlord is weak to fighting, and a lot of your guys have pretty low HP. So Tinglu's doing damage. You don't have bench barrier. It's super hard to deal with Okie Dokie. Like, fighting itself just completely walls dark. So when you're like taking that hard of a loss to fighting, and also like maybe barely, if at all, beating psychic, usually losing to psychic, if you're getting disrupted at key moments and your opponent is playing well, it's just really hard for dark to keep up. So it's got just enough buffs, like I said, to kind of bring it back to relevancy right now. And yeah, it's a creative time for the deck to kind of be experimenting. And the power is there. Guzzlord taking 2 prizes is still good. Spiritomb can hit high numbers. Moltres is one of the best late game attackers in GLC. Yeah, but it's just worth trying out and giving it a shot. And did want to highlight this other Grimsley focused deck from user Captain Kev on the Discord, a big webcam warrior who I've had the pleasure of playing with a couple of times, shared with me this slightly different Grimsley build from Jack's list. It has the Tyranitar and the Samurott, the Hisuian Samurott, which Hisuian Samurott has the ability. Did I highlight it here? Yeah. Hisuian Samurai has the ability which says you must discard a card. It's like trade. You discard a card and you get to draw 3 cards. Unfortunately, Hisuian Samurai, being a dark type, does not have basic dark types. It only has basic, like Oshawott and Dewott are not dark type, unfortunately. So this one, extra good, support Pokemon that dark could have is they're missing out on, unfortunately, because of the lack of the dark types. Yeah, really creative deck
Yeah.
from Cabin Kev. John, go ahead.
Crocodile's cool too. Yeah, the Crocodile's cool too. I played him in my pre-release kits. He's just a cool guy. 170 HP, and then it has a revenge style attack for 240, or no, not 240, 220. Could be boosted to 240 for 1 energy. So just a really efficient revenge attacker there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool card.
Cool card.
That's yeah.
Yeah. Cool card. Another stage 2. Probably tough to get up. But yeah, just another way to try out the dark deck if you're interested in building a Grimsley focused deck. Yeah, when you're going all in on the Grimsley, there's games you won't hit it, and so it's tough to do. I mean, not that this deck is doing that, but I just wanted to mention to any listeners, like, Grimsley is a cool card to enable some of these like really strong guys that Dark has. But it can come at the cost of consistency, because on games you don't hit it, you're dedicating, 4 or 5, sometimes more deck slots to hopefully pulling off a combo that might not always hit. But yeah, going into our next list, this one is focused, not focused, but is using Golbat and Crobat, the whole stage 2 Crobat line, as some extra consistency. So Liepard has the trade ability. Golbat and Crobat are on evolution draw cards. So Golbat, when you evolve from Zubat, can draw 2 cards, and Crobat, when you evolve from Golbat, can draw 3 cards with their discrete draw and drastic draw abilities. So it's just a way to boost your dark draw a little bit beyond the trade, maybe draw into some of those power cards you need, power up your Guzzlord with Toxtricity, things like that. But you also get this cool extra tech when you play the Golbat, which, John, if you want to mention here.
Sure. Yeah. The Flyinium Z, one of the crystals that allows you to use a GX attack. This one does 180 damage and prevents all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So almost certainly taking a knockout on most things, and then immunity the next turn. So a really strong attack there. Does require the 4 energy, but you've got the double turbo, you've got the reversal, and then I'm sure I didn't see, but I think this list plays the Toxtricity as well. Yes, does play the Toxtricity. So you can get that powered up. You can get there. Definitely like I said, 4 costs, but really strong effect for the cost there. I think definitely worth it.
Yeah, and it could buy you a turn, keep you ahead in the prize trade. You can only use it with Golbat, because on the Z crystals it says the Pokemon to use this attack must have the Air Slash attack. So that Golbat does have the Air Slash attack, and then can draw 2 cards with Golbat. Hopefully buy a turn with Flyinium Z. Maybe get back into the Guzzlord. Just creative ways to. It's a pretty cool deck from some Turbo Blaze guys, Espio and Count Sliggoo. It's basically your standard Turbo Dark basic focus decks with Toxtricity, Spiritomb, all the guys we've already mentioned. Just with that cute little extra consistency boost, as well as the Flyinium Z tech. This is actually a pretty strong deck. A version of this deck, Alex Carpenter once again won another webcam tournament with last week. He went 4-0 with.
Oh my goodness!
He went 4-0 with the draw Crobat and Golbat, though he did not play the Flyinium Z. But yeah, if you're looking for like a low to the ground, quick, dark basic deck, if I was playing a dark deck right now, I'd probably want to be playing this one or the Sableye control deck. Just kind of no frills, even though you have the extra stage 2 in line. Those are good draw cards, so you never hate to see them in your hand. So yeah, I am a fan of this deck.
So I've it's funny that you put this on here, Ben, because this is just I'll go on Cardboard Warriors and look up lists kind of for inspiration. I've been peeking at this specific list on and off for a little while. I think the poison stuff is really cool. Especially so you've got the Brute Bonnet here, that can with the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule. If it's attached, you can poison both your opponent's active Pokemon and your active Pokemon. Just a way to engage the poison. And then you've got cards that interact with poison here. And the Petulant there, that if it's active between turns, that your opponent takes 5 more damage counters from the poison condition. And then specifically comboing with that Seviper there, doing 60 damage and then a hit and run to the bench, switching with one of your bench Dark Pokemon. So really racks up the damage there. It does 60 damage. If you're poisoned, you take that extra damage counter. If you switch into Petulant, you take 5 extra damage counters. So like that's 120 right there. And then you're protecting your attacker as well, which is a cool thing. And then sort of you just the Petulant might get knocked out, but you can recover it, but your energy is protected and safe on that Seviper. Something we haven't mentioned, it's been in one of the other lists, but the Galarian Weezing, again doing poison as well, so you can poison, and then if it finally gets knocked out, something to note about the Petulant is that you can just kind of, if something's poisoned and you don't necessarily knock it out, you can push the Petulant up between turns. So Galarian Weezing adding that 4 damage counters. If it gets knocked out and you promote Petulant, it's taking that 4 damage counters plus the 5. So it's taking 9 damage counters between turns. So like it really racks up. But the Weezing, something that we haven't talked about specifically, Dark does have the tool in that Weezing, and empowered by the coughing with the Ascension attack, being able
Yeah.
to get into it quickly. You can use that neutralizing gas and turn off your opponent's abilities. So kind of slows down the game while you're maybe spreading some, or doing some damage with the poison while you get your own board set up. Some other standout
Yeah.
cards in this list, the Binding Mochi, that you can do 40 more damage if you're poisoned. So Brute Bonnet, normally a negative that you're poisoning yourself, but this is actually helping you do more damage with that Binding Mochi there. So really cool use of the poison. There's another card. There's a um, Garbodor that if there's a stadium in play, it's a stage 1, but if there's any stadium in play, you can just poison your opponent's active Pokemon. So Dark's got a lot of poison stuff going for it here, and this is a really cool list put together by Evan Wiki here, utilizing that poison.
Yeah, this is a really creative one. I was talking to Evan, to just asking for Dark List. He sent me this one, and yeah, it's cool with Seviper, the hit and run, like you said, getting into the Petulant. He said he'll also, depending on the situation, he'll use the hit and run to switch into Weezing. You can attack and then lock abilities. And, if Weezing has like Hiding Dark or Float, survives the turn, go back, do it again. So it's a way to swap back and forth there. This deck also plays the Phantom Transformation Zoroark, which is not something you see every day, but it's just a way to maintain the your power bench of Weezing, of Liepard Draw, or of Toxtricity Acceleration. Zoroark Transformation allows you to discard itself to put any stage 1 from the discard back into play. So if they knock out your Weezing, you can Phantom Transform to get it right back immediately. Yeah, really cool creative combo list from Evan here. If you're interested, I know a lot of players love the Poison Dark deck. It's a fan favorite. This is a streamlined, creative build of it. It's not playing the more common ones like you mentioned. Where they play the Garbodor and the Toxicroak, which boosts damage by 2, or poison damage by 2. And the other popular one is the Overquill, which is a free attack that poisons for like 50 damage counters or something like that. So yeah, trimming that idea of poison down to just like the Brute Bonnet and focusing on the Seviper combos. Yeah, another way to play the cool Poison Dark deck. And then finally, the last list I did want to mention, one of the last ways to to kind of play the dark deck right now is the Sableye Control variant. Um, this is from Turbo Blaze's Chris Ghouls Hill, who won the 3K with RDT, built the Egg Mill deck. It's just great deck builder all around. A lot of these decks that we've talked about today and in the past have been Turbo Blaze decks. They're cooking up some hot decks for all of us, including the Pig Pony Slug, the Sableye, the Milo Pump, all the Harambe, some good names, some bad names. Uh, but yeah, Sableye is a control focused dark deck. It can win by taking prizes by sweeping with Moltres in the late game with like a Lux Cape, similar to like the Torterra in an Egg Mill deck. But you do have more control focused options of milling with Belelba and Bryson Man. You're using Sableye and Junk Hunt, which is a classic control card in the history of the Pokemon trading card game, which allows you to put 2 item cards from your discard pile back into your hand. So getting back things like Counter Catcher to endlessly stall one of your opponent's Pokemon in the active, get back Reset Stamp to set their hand low, Field Blower for whenever you need that. Versus Seeker, late game is when you get back Versus Seeker Pal Pad to endlessly loop once you get the lockup, trap someone in the active, endlessly loop Versus Seeker Pal Pad to be doing Lieutenant Surge's strategy, Belelba Bryson Man, just the classic mill combo right there. So Sableye is the big enabler there. But you have these other 2 support guys that you don't see too often. John, why don't you tell us what they are?
Yeah, so the Alolan Muck there with the Adventurous Appetite. So when you play it from your hand onto the Alolan Grimer to evolve it, you look at the top cards, the top 6 cards of your opponent's deck, and then you may discard any number of item cards that you find there. So really trying to find you're doing the mill there to deck them out as well as a win condition, but like you're trying to hit like their escape rope, their scoop up net, these items that can kind of help them once you've kind of trapped something in the active, their recovery, really just kind of attacking their deck there. So a really good card there. And then the Galarian Obstagoon with the Wicked Ruler. Once during your turn, you may have your opponent discard cards from their hand until they have 4 cards in their hand. So a lot of times when players are against control, they're kind of hoard their resources and limit what they play. And the Galarian Obstagoon comes in and says, no, you can't do that. You have to discard down to 4. Your opponent getting to choose what those cards are isn't necessarily great, but just having that as an ability, just sitting on board that you get to do that every turn, limit them, you're really going to restrict what resources they have, and your opponent's hopefully going to have to make some tough decisions there on what they're discarding. And then once you see what they discard, you kind of can guess what resources they have access to, decide what Pokemon is best to put in play and attack with. Is it a safe turn that you can recover stuff with the Sableye? Do you need to use the Yveltal to lock something in the active or discard an energy? So kind of what they discard can kind of inform your play.
Yeah, and you can also combo the Wicked Ruler with. I think that's why Delinquent is in the list as well, because Delinquent says discard a stadium, and your opponent has to discard 3 cards from their hand. So say they start the turn with 7 or 8 cards in their hand, the Obstagoon's going to force them down to 4, then the Delinquent's going to force them down to just 1 remaining. So you can basically wipe almost their whole hand. And in a control match where resources are so important, that's just huge, So both the Obstagoon and the Delinquent, or like the Reset Stamp, can do a lot of damage to your opponent's resources and make the lock possible. So this is a really strong dark deck. Again, it is a control deck, so we'll have like a learning curve if you're not super familiar with it. If you have any questions about any of these decks, go ahead, John.
I just want to mention, so the Obstagoon, the idea, the hand control in Dark is actually really cool. One of the decks I built a super long time ago, and one of my favorite cards that I've played in GLC was the Rip and Run Haunch Crow. What this card does is it rips your opponent. chooses a random card from your opponent's hand, and discards it, and then you switch it to the bench. So the deck I built used that attack, and then you played the dolls in it. The you don't take prizes, the Lily's Polka Doll and the Robo substitute that your opponent doesn't take prizes for. So you rip cards out of their hand and put something that they can't take a prize with in the active. Also, notably items, so recoverable by Sableye. And then seeing this Obstagoon again got me thinking, and I was looking back at that, and then I realized there's also a Malamar that with for 1 energy flips makes your opponent flip 4 coins, and for each tails they get, they have to discard a card from their hand. Um, so it's just like you can use the Obstagoon to limit their hand, and then you have these attackers in Dark. Yeah, it's older. Older
Not
than
this
that
one.
even, I think. No, it's farther down. It's that. Yeah, it's the. Oh my god, it's the
OG.
first Malamar ever printed. The
It
OG
is.
Malamar. Yeah. Um, so yeah, really cool. They could 4 coins is a lot. Like on average, they're discarding 2 cards from their hand. Again, they get to choose with this, so it's not as good as the rip and run. But if their hand's limited, they're gonna have to make some tough choices with that. The other cool thing is, you can look it up if you want to. You don't have to. There's an Inkay, the Dark Inkay. When it's confused, you can evolve it. Uh, on just immediately. It can be on the first turn of the turn that you played it. It's probably, yeah, it's one of the first ones too. And you've got in that list there, you've got the Team Yellhorn that confuses your opponent's active and your active. So there's a chance you could do this with this Malamar turn 1, which is just a really interesting combo. So I've kind of gone back in the kitchen, looking at these hand control cards, seeing if there's something there. I don't want to rant about this too much, but I do have to say, um, there was I played this for a while back in the day. There was a game I was playing against Andrew, and he was on fire, and it was a turn that I hand disrupted him, and I was like, okay, I hand disrupted him down to 2. He's low. It deciding if I needed to rip and run or if it was safe to recover something with Sableye. And I decided to recover something with Sableye instead of rip and run. And he told me the 2 cards I ionoed him into was Rare Candy and Delphox that let you draw up to 6 cards in your hand. And
Oh
it was
my
just like
gosh.
the biggest, like, there's a Zubat that lets you look at your opponent's hand in Dark as well. And I'm like, man, I needed that Zubat to see what those 2 cards were in his hand. So I love these hand controlled Dark cards. If you can't tell, I'm sort of becoming obsessed. Really, really cool things you can do there.
Yeah, that's a John Patterson classic deck. I remember playing against that for sure. Yeah, as you can, I mean, even from John talking about his ideas here, there's a lot of creativity to be had in the dark pool. Yeah, we're gonna need you to cook that up, John. The new generation of hand controlled dark.
I purchased this Inkay and Malamar already.
Okay, let's go. We love to hear it. That's awesome. But yeah, so that's some highlights of current dark lists in our meta right now. Again, still kind of a bit low on the tier list, underneath all of those top tier decks we're constantly talking about. But there is room to play in the meta with it. When Psychic is so popular, weakness will always have some factor, even if it's not as much as you would hope. If you have any questions about how to play these lists or changes or tech ideas, then you can join the conversation in the Turbo Blaze Discord, where a lot of these lists originate from, in the Tricky Gym Discord, where a lot of the full group players are available and discussing, and in the Cardboard Warriors Discord. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or in the comments below. What's your favorite way to play Dark? Let us know. And before we get into our final topic of the night with the no bans tournament that we're playing in, I did want to just quickly mention that thank you so much for watching this far. Please subscribe on YouTube if you're enjoying the content. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please follow. And you can leave a comment on Spotify as well. I do check those. Yeah, really appreciate all the support we've gotten up until this point. And yeah, just like the video, give a thumbs up, leave a comment. It helps a lot. Share with your friends. So Thank you very much. And now we can get into
Yeah.
the chat about our no bans tournament. So if you don't know, currently through the Turbo Blaze Discord server, they are hosting a GLC webcam tournament that is 100% open in the expanded card pool. You can play all the banned cards, and it's just a for fun tournament. It's an asynchronous tournament as well, which means we only play one round per week. You just contact your opponent during the week and set up a time to play, and at the end of the week you'll get paired into a new opponent. It's going to be a 4-week tournament, and we just wrapped up week 1 of our tournament, and John and I are both playing in it, and we'll take a quick look at the meta share of what we got going on, John.
So we've got top deck being played in that Duskull Donk. I played against this deck this week, so I'll talk about it a little bit more. But using the Duskull, you can discard 3 cards from your hand in order to evolve up into a Dusclops, using the Cursed Blast Dusclops. The goal of this deck being to, whether going first or second, be able to wipe your board before you get a chance to play cards. So, and we've got 4 of those amazing rare Kyogre decks. The Kyogre spreading 80 damage to everything on your opponent's board. Incredibly strong attack. Then for the Lightning Raikou spread decks, got Archeops coming back in with 3 of those with the colorless, some RDT lists, and then just a few miscellaneous lists from there. Some pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, I haven't looked closely at. I don't want to speak too much on it because I haven't looked too closely at all these lists yet. But yeah, that top. I mean, those top 3, kind of down to like those top 4 decks. There is kind of like the main, like, these guys are the makeup of the banned card pool, and there's a reason that they're banned.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so those are like the key, like John said, those are the key guys. The rest, I know, like the rest of these like one-off decks, a handful of them are, people playing like normal meta decks just to see how they face into banned cards, just to make the tournament a little bit interesting. So it's not just Kyogre against Kyogre every time. It's like, how does Psychic right now pair into Amazing Kyogre, like if it was back? So got some deck diversity there. But yeah, so I am that one Psychic mid-range player. The only banned card I'm playing is Let Loose Marshadow. And let me pull up my list here. This is my list. I just basically took Hector's winning 3K list from the previous Full Grip 3K. Found a slot for Marshadow and a couple other things based on the meta I expected. So the Wobbuffet and the Mr. Mime bench barrier going in because I feel like those are really good into things like Raikou and Kyogre, of course, who both want to spread damage and definitely want their abilities. So I had to find room for those 2 guys. But other than that, it's basically, your average current meta Psychic deck, with the Natsu Blindside, the Blacephalon, Giratina, Monkey Dory, Iron Boulder, things like that. Playing the Shining Arcana Gardevoir as well. Yeah, so I just was was like, I like Marshadow, and also it's a for fun tournament. It's not like neither John nor I it's something fun we wanted to do, but neither of us spent tons of time, if at all, like basically no time actually trying to like solve the meta for a no bans tournament or anything like that. It was just like, some people are going to play Raikou, some people are going to play Kyogre. I'm just going to play Psychic.
I started thinking about my list and what I wanted to play 2 hours before deck list submissions were due.
Right. Yeah. So it's just something fun to do. And Andrew actually hopped in as well. Andrew Mahone, Tricky Jim, GLC creator, did end up joining the tournament as well. These are the pairings for round 1 on screen. If you can see, there's still a couple matches that have not happened. And we're not going to talk about everyone's match, of course, but if you want to watch some of these games, the Turbo Blaze YouTube channel has uploaded a handful of these best of 3 sets. So those are pretty fun to watch. My game is included there. John's game is included there. Andrew's game is included on the YouTube channel as well. Um, yeah, we just wanted to talk about how our first rounds went, what happened, and just have some fun with this creative way to play GLC. Thank you, Turbo Blaze, for hosting. But John, why don't we talk about your list real quick, and then we can talk about your matchup as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I took kind of the last I took your list, Ben, from the what 3K was it? Journey Together, right?
Journey
Journey
Together.
Together
Yeah.
3K is what you won. Yeah, I took your list and just said, okay, this is a good starting point. We'll kind of go from here. It's pretty similar, added in updated cards like the Pokepad and that sort of thing. Switched instead of the fire energies. I don't know. I'm on this kick, as you could see with my list that I'm playing currently in GLC. Is like I kind of like the Mina in there, just the early aggression instead of waiting to have to mellow something back. So I like the fairy energies and the Mina over that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just build a fast turbo colorless deck. I kind of thought my thought behind this was like I was like, okay, I kind of want to play colorless. You saw 3 of the lists went back to playing the fossil lab or the research lab and the Archeops. I was like, I kind of just want to be faster than that and just see if we really even need like the Archeops anymore. Um,
Yeah.
so just build a list that was just as fast as I could go. The one fun thing, so I've got the doubles in there, and then I figured I like to play the Lana's Rod in these lists to get the tool back. And I had a thought, like a last minute thought. I was like, wait a minute, what if I just play another band card and the Lysander's trump card and I just get everything back instead of just those cards? So I thought this would be fun. And I also just had a thought. I was like, oh, this will be fun until like, I thought there might be some people playing colorless control. There's
Yeah.
not one person playing colorless control. So I was like, I was like, oh, this is kind of like my pun intended trump card against those decks. But again, it's a fun tournament. I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, those double colorless energies. Oh, can't go back apparently. Let me open up John's
No,
list again.
point of no
Yeah, those double
return.
colorless energies that were banned, back again in John's deck. And his first matchup was into Ghouls playing the Psychic Duskull Donk deck. Let me pull that list up. John, why don't you just
Yeah.
tell us what happened?
So it's a like as I said earlier, it's the this deck is so evil, and I love it. I as much as I hate to play against it, it's fun to watch it happen at least once or twice. Like watch them go through the deck. So the goal of the deck is it's you're choosing to go first, and you're using this Duskull that lets you evolve into the Dusclops cheat evolution. You can do it on the first turn of the game, and you're trying to do that multiple times. So the idea is like you're trying to board wipe your opponent before they get a chance to play the game in any
Yeah.
sort of meaningful way. And so it's got a ton of just dig cards. Like the bulk of the deck is just cards that dig through the deck. It's got custom catcher, it's got judge whistle to draw a card, battle compressor to get the stuff you don't want out. It's got one supporter in the list that is Carmine that you can play on the first turn of the game. You can do everything. You can use all your cards. The only thing you can't do on your first turn is attack, obviously. But this deck is just so aggressive and so fast. So you are using the Duskull, evolving into the Dusclops, you are popping it, and then using recovery cards like the rods, the revive, the night stretcher, the all this stuff to maintenance. I think gets a card back and puts it on top of your deck on a coin flip to just
No,
do it
that's recycle.
again. And so the goal of this deck, oh, recycle.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean,
Oh, what does
recycle
maintenance
does what you said.
do?
Maintenance does something different.
Shuffles 2 cards from your hand into deck. Oh, and draw card. Okay, yeah, I lose track. There's so many just draw item cards in this deck that I can't even tell. I don't even remember what does what. So when you play against this deck, you spend probably 20 to 25 minutes sometimes just watching your opponent go through their first turn, and they're not slow playing. They are playing at a regular pace, and they are just doing this over and over and over again. So it's got the and so going against this deck, you choose to go first because you need to have a chance to use your Pokemon search to get Pokemon into play. Because your goal
Yeah.
is you're in survival mode from the beginning of the game. You're like, I need to survive and make it past turn one.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, it's got the Dusclops. It's also got the Miss Magius in there that also pops itself so you can draw up to 7 and uh, but gives your opponent a prize. And then the Dusk Stone, normally you can't evolve. This one cheats evolution by using the Dusk Stone to be able to evolve at turn 1 as well, which and it seems like this is a lot, but trust me, it works. It happens. They're able to do it, pop. The dream is to pop, just wipe whatever the active is off the board. So pop do Dusclops if you need to. But if you're going second, popping the Miss Magius is kind of like is really doable to pop 2 Dusclops. And then if you pop the Miss Magius, you're popping a third card, which what that does, if you go second, is activates the Blacephalon because you're on that third prize turn. So what you've done is you've put 50 damage on their field twice. So there's 100 damage on their board. And then you're able to use the Fireworks Bomb for 12 more damage counters. So you're doing 220 damage onto the board if you're going second and can pull this off. And this happened in the in the last game that I played. So I don't know. The deck's a lot. Do you have anything to add to just like how this deck works, Ben, that I'm missing maybe?
I mean, no, that's like the main thing. You're just comboing it with the unknown to draw a single card, let loose to reset your hand if needed, mysterious tail Mew. You're basically going all in. If your opponent can get enough HP on their board to survive, um, and actually take some knockouts, get out of the 3 prize turn from Blacephalon before they can do it twice, you have a shot. But if you do not have, if you lose the coin flip and you don't have 2 basic Pokemon in your hand, just going dusk, if you're they can Dusclop twice very easily to win before you even draw a card for your first turn. So that's like this. Yeah, that's the strategy of the deck. So many item cards. The one supporter card. Ways to get cards out of the prizes if needed with redeemable ticket, Rotom decks, things like that. You can do it all. The deck has everything you need to accomplish this, and John can tell you what happened in his game, but I think the colorless deck has the best chance of beating it. Interestingly enough, just didn't. Yeah, you could tell
Yeah,
us
it
what happened.
was it was cool. Like I said, it's not a deck I want to play. I'm glad it's banned. It's not a deck I want to play against every week, but to watch your opponent, to watch your opponent just like go through it and do it one, it's cool to see. It's cool to see it function. So I'd encourage you to like go and just like check out at least one of these games that's on the Turbo Blaze, that where this deck is utilized, because it's a cool deck to experience. A lot of words, a lot of rambling by myself to explain how this deck works. The matchups I will be very simple, I promise you. So my round, my game one, I used Fan Rotom and got I think I Fan Rotom, and I also got a Snorlax in play.
I think you
And
had,
uh
was it Snorlax? I don't think Snorlax was ever in play. You had Hop Snorlax in play, game one.
yeah, it was Hop Snorlax in play.
Yeah.
I Fan Rotom and I had Hop Snorlax in play. So I had um a bunch of guys with 60 HP and like my Hop Snorlax in play. And my opponent did their whole turn. They were able to pop Dusclops twice, but weren't able to pull off the full board wipe there. And then I literally developed an attacker and was able to swing, and they scooped because that's just like the end of the game from there. Um, there is a chance, like so if they don't get the full board wipe and you swing, the Mimikyu is in the deck, so they can respond, but it's like it's such little hope past then. So that like there is a chance, but so that was game one. Game two, I was forced to go first, or I was forced to go. Uh, yeah, I was forced to go second. So my opponent went first. I started Squovit and nothing else, and my opponent popped Dusclops twice, and that was the end of that game.
Yeah.
Then game three, I started Cyclizar and Bidoof, and so I had 170 HP total on my board. My opponent was able to pop their Mismagius, pop their uh,
Two does.
Dusclops twice, and then board wipe with Blacephalon.
Yep.
And that's how those matchups go.
Yep. So
So
you played no turns in game 2. You played one turn in game 3, which is just a draw and a bench of Bidoof. So very unengaging, of course, for you as a player. And as far as the tournament goes, that's the point of the no bans tournament, is to create something broken and busted, and that's what a lot of it's the most played deck in is the Duskull Donk deck. But yeah, banned for a good reason.
yeah.
We'll say that much. But
My hope is to
unfortunately,
not play into it again, but I've learned my lesson, and I'm going to bring a drink. I'm going to bring a snack next time. I'm going to sit down and just kind of relax, maybe open up a different YouTube video, watch that happening. It's like I said, it's a cool deck. It's fun to watch once. I've seen it perform. I know what it does. I don't need to see it again.
yeah. In your game,
Hoping not to see it again. So
yeah, in your game 3 though, there were Chris. I watched Chris had 2 moments where he had to have the exact top deck that he did to even continue his turn. And if he had whiffed on either of those 2 exact top decks, you probably would have won, because then he would have just had to pass. But there was a turn where he discarded his quick ball to find, or he discarded his ultra ball or something to find the Mismagius he needed to use Duskstone. And then he's like, shoot, I misplayed. I'll use Unknown for 1 card, and he found the mysterious treasure off the 1 card to find the Mismagius. And then, so that was like super lucky right there. His turn would have ended. Obviously, it was a misplay, so it shouldn't have happened in the first place. But the second time was his hand was basically dead, and he had started Marshadow this game, so he couldn't use Let Loose as an out. And he used Unknown to draw 1 card again, and it was the Scoop of Net to reset his hand and see 4 fresh cards with Marshadow. So in that third game, he found the route, but got incredibly lucky to even continue playing against you there. And yeah, I think Colorless does have the best chance against this deck, because you have Fan Rotom, which can find multiple benched Pokemon on your first turn if you have an out to it. You also have the Unfazed Fat Snorlax, which is immune to Blacephalon damage, as well as being 150 HP. So you have all these ways to hopefully circumvent what your opponent is doing, but it just requires you to actually have the Rotom in hand going first, or something like that to survive. So the Duskull deck is just trying to capitalize on you whiffing those things. And you're actually in your game 1, you had the perfect. Colorless has the perfect response to avoid the Mimikyu, because they put you on 3 prizes. You were able to swing with Cramorant to go down to 2 prizes, which meant Mimikyu would be unable to even copy the Cramorant attack, because you have 2 prizes remaining, which is outside of the Cramorant range. So
yeah, the other thing that you can do is you can just swing with the Hop Snorlax, and then if the Mimikyu copies that, it knocks itself out.
yeah. So as long as you can survive the 2 Dusclops, the Mismagius, and the Blacephalon, and hopefully knock out the Blacephalon, you have a good shot to win. Though there are obviously creative plays that they can make, and I'm not an expert with the Psychic deck by any means, but yeah, Chris sneaking out a win over John on that round 1. Unfortunately for John, but congrats to Chris, and we'll see how the rest of the tournament shapes up. Again, it's just for fun. I'm excited to try some other matchups and see.
Yeah, first time I've interacted with Chris. So we've talked about Ghouls, his list a good bit, but really cool guy, really pleasurable opponent to play against, playing an unpleasurable deck. So yeah, shout out to Chris for being an awesome opponent there. So yeah, Ben, let's go ahead and move on to yours. Hear how you did in your run.
Yeah, so I ended up winning my match. I played. Where's my name? Here I am. I played against George Rhodes with my, just mid-range psychic deck featuring Marshadow, and George was playing the Amazing Raikou Lightning deck. Amazing Raikou, obviously, doing 120 damage to your active and your bench Pokemon and an opponent's bench Pokemon. This deck featured the Joltik, which never got to see play alongside Raikou because Raikou was banned right before Joltik was released. But Raikou's attack costs lightning, metal, and grass. And Joltik searches up to 2 basic grass and 2 basic lightning energy cards, to attach to your Pokemon in any way you like. So perfect partner for the Raikou to power it up on your first turn. And George was also playing the Call Signal Magneton, which knocks itself out, gives your opponent a prize, but can search for 3 supporter cards. One of those being the Lieutenant Surge to allow you to play all 3 supporters in one turn, to just have like these really strong combo plays, and hopefully, just take set up Raikou multiple times over the course of the game with maybe Joltik turn 1, swing with Raikou, and then use Magneton to recover Raikou and power it back up on the following turn it's knocked out. So pretty strong deck, obviously, but Psychic, I think, is like the perfect answer to the Raikou deck, especially in all the tools that I had. So first one being Bench Barrier, of course, in Mr. Mime being absolutely key. Notice in George's list, he plays Hex Maniac and Silent Lab, but no way to recover Silent Lab. So those are his only 2 ways to shut off Bench Barrier. So I knew that once I got rid of his Silent Lab, that wouldn't be coming back, so I could rely on Mr. Mime for longer. And then even worse for the Raikou deck is the Mimikyu. So if they attack with Raikou, Amazing Shot, Mimikyu for just 2 energy, or maybe even 1 with Dimension Valley, which I did do multiple times, can Amazing Shot right back, and Raikou only has 120 HP, and Lightning also has no bench barrier. So I'm an almost better Amazing Shot attacker than Raikou is with the Mimikyu into the Lightning deck. So game 1, I set up Mr. Mime, responded to a Raikou with Mimikyu, and just reestablished Mr. Mime as needed. Locked with Wobbuffet early turn 1 until I was ready to go in, or until he knocked my Wobbuffet out. And they Lightning just can't really keep up with the prize trade if you knock out their Raikou as well as their key bench Pokemon that they want to use. So if you knock out the Magneton before they blow it up, or if you knock out their Dynamotor, or their Zebstrika, it's just like really hard for Lightning to respond after that. Game 2, I just bricked really bad, and George ended up board wiping me with a quick Amazing Raikou. And then game 3 was much like the first game, where I had Wobbuffet. I had the Mimikyu response to their first Raikou, and just took it from there. So yeah, this like basically what I was hoping to see in the No Bans tournament when I picked this deck. It was like, I feel like I could beat Raikou, and we'll see what else comes at me. So I probably would lose very quickly to a Duskull Donk deck if I if I don't get like my basics up. My strategy turn 1 against them would be to let loose them so that they start their turn with 4 cards in hand rather than 7. Who knows if that will make much of a difference? I don't know, but just bench as many Pokemon as possible. If I can get like Monkey Dory, Boulder, and Tina, and Wav, if I can get a couple of those big basic guys on the bench turn 1, then I have hope. But I'll just be watching them play most of the game anyways, and we'll see what happens. But I will link. I'll link the tournament. This tournament. Let me go back to the main page. If you check the description of this podcast, I'll link this tournament here, so you can actually click in, look at everyone else's lists. If you're interested in seeing any of like the Kyogre lists and stuff like that, because we're running late now. But yeah, check the description for that. Round 2 will be coming up. If you're interested in watching any of these games live, you can join the Turbo Blaze Discord server where we play these matches out and always have an audience. It's really fun. Yeah, fun time to play. No bans, no stakes, and see the busted cards.
Look forward to updating you guys on how that goes.
That's right. But yeah, thanks so much for listening to this episode. We're gonna wrap it up. Tony, hopefully back next week. Who knows? Unlikely. Odds are.
Yeah.
You know.
Let Tony know that you love him and miss him and want him back. We keep telling him that. It's not working. So yeah, reach out to Tony. Tony, let him know that you want to see him back on the podcast.
Go play some Gym Leader Challenge, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. See you next time, guys.
You gonna say the catchphrase, John?
No. So, okay, I meant to mention it before the podcast. I think I subconsciously stole that from another podcast that I listened to, and I don't feel right saying it anymore.
Okay,
There's like a collector. Yeah, there's a collector podcast that's like more like that's what they're called the just like the Card Lounge. And I'd listened to them, and I didn't realize until after I had been saying it on the podcast, I heard them say it when they signed off, and I was like, "Oh, what? They've never said that before, right? That's not something that they've said." And it's just like, and then I listened. I went to like the end of the last 3 episodes, and they said it every time, and I was like, "Dang it! I stole it, and I didn't realize it."
Oh, John's getting us sued. Oh man.
Yeah.
Funny.
So shout out to the Card Lounge podcast. Sorry for stealing your end of episode catchphrase. I guess I surely don't listen to this, but
all right, leave your suggestions below for what our new catchphrase could be. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.